Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers. Thank you, Marty. Welcome everybody to the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org. That's your gateway to YouTube, where something like 60,000 shows have been watched up to this point. We thank you so much for watching them. And of course, you can see all the future shows coming up, and you can go back close to a couple of years in terms of checking out past shows. We're real big on community policing also. Caps24.org is a website that Sonny Hirsch, who is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District runs. We congratulate him for just being reelected. Well, not reelected, there was never any election in the first place. As the beat facilitator for 2413, beating the forces of evil by a thrilling vote of 8-5. And congratulations to Ed Smith, his co-facilitator, who's been Mr. Court Watch and according to Sonny, covered about 2,000 cases in the last year, and he's terrific. And who's the other Court Watch guy, Sonny?
Rick Jones.
Rick Jones, yeah, another. We want to congratulate him also. They do a terrific job. Okay, ntnm.org for the show, caps24.org for community policing. It is a pleasure to introduce you at this point. Oh, congressional race. We're 5th congressional race. Of course, you're going to the polls Tuesday. And we invited 5 different people. There are 26 people running, if I'm not mistaken. 15 Democrats, 6 Republicans, and 5 people who are green at the gills. I mean, Green Party. And in any event, we invited 5. The 5 we thought were the most likely to get high vote totals. Sarah Feigenholtz did not return our call. She's not talking to the media at all, just running commercials. Mike Quigley's people were very polite, but chose not to come. They were unable to come on. Due to previous commitments. The same was true of Gary Camparelli and John Fritzie also. We got very nice response also, and it's people we know that are dealing with them. But we were lucky enough to get one guest, and actually somebody that's a very popular person in this neighborhood and our next door neighbor, who hasn't graced us on the show for quite a few years, but we're talking about presently the alderman of the 40th Ward and possibly the next congressperson of the 5th Congressional District, Pat O'Connor. How are you?
Fine, Avi. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, you are not a newcomer to public life at all.
No, I've been involved in government since 1983. I was elected at the age of 28. So,
wow.
If you're doing the math, it's 54.
Yeah. I'm older than you.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, you don't look it. I mean, the rough and tumble of Chicago government and Democratic politics takes its toll on you physically, but I've enjoyed my time in government, and I'm looking forward to a new opportunity.
Yeah, and of course you have a very distinguished background. I mean, you're considered a very important person in city council. Tell people what the committeeships and chairmanships and whatever else. And
well, for 24 of the last 26 years, I chaired the Education Committee, which
very important.
I think we've made great strides in Chicago public education. We've done some remarkable things with the school reform. We've done some great things in terms of just building new schools and putting new additions on schools, something that no urban system has been doing nationwide for a very long time. Currently, I chair the Traffic Control and Safety because the feeling was, as we reorganized at the last election, that if we are fortunate enough to get the Olympics, traffic control, safety, moving people, moving large crowds and making it work will be an important function, and we wanted to be able to do some good things there as well.
No question about it. So you 26 years in public service. What I wasn't sure. You basically filed last minute, which was pretty smart because you didn't have to fight for the first person on the ballot. You're the last person on the ballot.
Well, I'll tell you, we had internally thought about whether or not when we should file. And honestly, it took me a while to make sure that I wanted to be in the race. And there were some good reasons for it. First and foremost, I really enjoy what I do. I've been in the city council for a long time. I've represented the community I've grown up in all my life. My wife and I went to school there. We met when we were like in 3rd grade.
Wow.
We dated through high school and college.
Great.
We got married in law school. And so I really know the neighborhood well, and I enjoy representing the community. Finally, I came to the conclusion that if I am fortunate enough to be elected for Congress, the role wouldn't change dramatically. What would change is I'd just be representing a bigger neighborhood. And that's really the way we kind of looked at it. So when we began, we waited till the holidays were over. We went out and circulated petitions during that coldest week in January. And within about 5 days, we garnered 5,000 petitions. Filed at the last at 4:59.
4:59.
So we would ensure ourselves the last ballot position.
Now, the windows would have closed at 5 o'clock.
The person we had down there has ice water in his veins because there were 2 or 3 other people down there, and everybody was kind of getting nervous, and everybody was concerned, and our guy held out, and you have to go down to Springfield to file.
Yeah.
He held out until the last minute.
Somebody filed at 4:58.
Exactly, exactly. Actually, it was interesting because what they wanted to do is they wanted to flip a coin to see who would go first, and our guy just said, "Look, you file when you want. We'll file when we want." Yeah. So it was a little bit of a stare down, but it was an interesting dynamic.
That's definitely some ice water. That's for sure.
Well, I don't think he could have come back to Chicago if he didn't get his filed. So
that
would
have
have
been a problem. Yeah, because just and people don't understand. It's not like you're in line there for it. If it's after 5 o'clock, you can file. At 5 o'clock, the window shuts and that's it.
And if you hand them your papers and they're not all done correctly, and they have to like reshuffle them and remove them, if it takes them more than that minute, you don't file.
Wow.
So I'll tell you an interesting story. He had his phone ring is a Clint Eastwood fistful of dollars, and everybody
one of my favorite movies.
Everybody was calling him down there, and that phone kept ringing. And it added to the nervousness of the other people that were waiting to file because they kept hearing this Western theme of a gunfight, So ultimately, we just wanted to make sure they were filed, and it worked out. It was the beginning of what has been a very good campaign so far.
No, excellent. I got to imagine I'm grateful, considering how late I started asking people. I'm very grateful to have you. You've got a forum tonight, I know, and. You're busy going 20. Oh, first of all, I want to thank Phil Mulfees and Caitlin. I forget her last name over at Granger Terry.
Right.
For all their help in getting you over here. I do appreciate that. I mean, this is morning, noon, and night, I assume.
Well, we started out at 6:30 this morning at the Jefferson Park train station, trying to greet people who are, hurrying to their trains and trying to get downtown to work on time. We tried not to hold them up, but we want to make sure that they know that there's election coming up. I've been at 4 stops up till this point of the day, and as you suggest, we'll end the day with a forum at Northside College Prep. It's kind of an interesting forum because you just present like 3 minutes of a discussion, and then instead of interaction between candidates, you just go to your own table and people can come and talk to you as they will.
Oh, interesting. That is different.
With the number of candidates in the race, it's very difficult to get a real exchange of ideas or a real debate going. So most of them are more like presentations than debate.
Yeah, that's 26 people. Is everybody showing up at all the debates?
I think the last one I was at was about 15 people. And it's an unfortunate thing. It is the way we run for office in this country. But they ask you a question. Tell us how you're going to solve the healthcare crisis in the United States, and you have a minute.
That was the debate topic when I took a debate class in college, as a matter of fact.
Well, it just shows you that it's been around for a while as a question, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, I did a lot of work, but we got more than a minute to answer most of the things.
Right.
Are there specifics? I mean, there's got to be 15 people running on the Democratic side. There's got to be every single possible stance being taken on all issues. What are the main points you're trying to hammer home to people?
Well, I think in a race this crowded, and in a race with some very quality people, the thing that you have to try and convey to folks is that it is important that you elect somebody that's got good ideas, but there's a great deal of consensus on some of the ideas. Everybody's supportive of the new president. Everybody feels that we need to go to a single-payer health care system. Everybody feels that we need to improve our infrastructure to get our fair share of the stimulus package. The real question that you try and pose to people and have them kind of think about in their mind is, if everybody's saying the same thing, how do you decide who actually can accomplish that? And so, from my perspective, what we try and do is tell people, judge your future by what people have done in the past. And if you look at what I've done in my community, You know, I've brought in tremendous infrastructure projects into my community. Northside College Prep, new additions or renovations to just about every school in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and the Northside College Prep, of course, is about as good a school as there is in Chicago.
It is the #1 performing school in the state, and it is one of the top high schools in the country, according to Newsweek. And you have a new police station, a new firehouse, a new library.
6030 North Clark, and where the old Spa Motel was. You can
Well, and they were all twofers because we were taking down old motels, putting up municipal buildings. In fact, at one point in time, the firehouse that we ended up building on Clark Street was to go on Lincoln, but we chose to put it on Clark Street because we closed 2 kind of old, antiquated stations and combined them over on Clark near Peterson. But the point is that if we're talking about a stimulus package that includes infrastructure improvements, what candidates have ever cited a building in their community? What candidates have ever brought dollars into their neighborhood? I'm the only one that can actually say that I compete in a legislative body and do fairly well in bringing back things into tangible evidence of people's tax dollars.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, well, it's something that I think is important, particularly in this economy, is to kind of decide, who has performed in the past and who can perform. One of the candidates, essentially, he's taken like one of President Obama's speeches and basically says, we need change, we want transparency, we need all of this. But, from my perspective, there's change and then there's real change. You can speak about it or you can actually bring it about. And I just think that if we can convey the message that we have brought change about over a number of years in a community, hopefully that message will resonate.
Very good. And I think that's, well, you definitely have, I was thinking myself that even some of the people here I know have leaned on you, even if they're a little bit in the 50th ward. But, well, there's students from yours also. I know that people were asking me because they're familiar with, I put out Jewish Chicago before regular elections. And I get asked a lot by people like who do you like in this particular race? And I don't always, I basically give candidates, I think, and I always mention you among them, as somebody who's done positive things, and I almost consistently get a reaction from Jewish people that they're familiar with you and that they know you've done well for the schools. And as a matter of fact, I know my aunt was a principal of the Joan Dax Space Yaakov School for 40 years,
sure.
Mrs. Mirak, and she always speaks extremely highly of you.
Sidney Glenner, who is very supportive financially of that school, had met with me many, many years ago and introduced me to the school. And I've always tried to be supportive of it because, quite honestly, whether it's public education, private education, the fact of the matter is that education really is the key to all of our future needs. And so I've always focused on it that if you want to cut health care costs, give people a good education so they can get a job. If you want to cut down on crime, you want to cut down on incarceration costs, give people a good education so they can get a good job. It all comes back to the idea that if you can help young people, you really, in the long run, help yourself and your pocketbook.
No, I agree with that 100%. I was reading in the paper today, of course this is a week later that it's being on the air, that you're starting to advertise on cable TV now.
We are. What we had done is, because we started a little bit late, the money we've raised to this point, we've tried to kind of save as much as possible, allow the other candidates who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to this point, allow them to let people know there's an election. And quite honestly, I think after November, everybody had kind of an election hangover. Nobody wanted to hear about elections again, Yeah,
especially considering, what, a 9-month primary season?
Oh, yeah. No. So we kind of let them get the word out. There's an election, special election coming up on March 3rd. And then we decided, okay, now's the time for us, do our mail, do our TV buy, be up on cable this week, be up on network and cable next week, and just kind of tell people, okay, now that you know there's an election, now let us introduce you to who you might consider voting for. And that's really been the strategy, and that and a really good volunteer base, and we feel pretty good.
Well, I know, as a matter of fact, one of my frequent guests on the show was really talking you up also, Terry O'Brien, who I always, when I celebrate President's Day, I celebrate President Terry O'Brien of the Water Reclamation District Day. But he's a good guy, and I know he's spoken volumes about not just you in general, but also how your family knows his family and vice versa, And he's always, I've always thought his family are really upstanding people, and I know they support you 100%.
Well, you know, Terry's family and mine, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same school. We attended the same church. His brother stood up in my wedding, and we've just known one another as friends for a long time. One of my favorite things is that, you know, Terry went into government, and now we get to work together professionally, and we have that underlying friendship that ensures that the communication is always good. I think it's really helped me with my community's needs along the North Shore, the channel, and I think it's helped Terry because he gets a real good read of what the community thinks without any filter, without any discussion or any political agenda, because, you know, my success and his success is based not on a political desire but on a real good friendship. So it's kind of a great way if you can approach government and politics that way. You don't always get to, but this is a nice way to do it.
No, I know. As a matter of fact, we got a tour on the North Shore. Sonny and I went down the North Shore Channel with him on one of the pollution control boats. And we went right by Northside College Prep, and of course there's an awful lot of interaction with the 40th Ward and the 50th Ward, among a whole lot of other wards, because everything along the North Shore Channel, 90 feet each way at least, is the property of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago.
Well, eventually, I know that Alderman Stone and I have talked. We often talk about the waterway actually becoming more or less a commuter type of a opportunity. And if you look at the outside of Northside College Prep, there is a landing there for small boats, and we actually a couple times had like children canoeing up the river to get to class. Yeah. So it's a very unique place and a unique opportunity there.
No, it is, and there's definitely, you know, I'm a walker, so I've taken walks along, you know, around Lincoln Avenue. You can get down to the walkway over there, and
right.
There's people fishing, there's people doing all kinds of things down there. It's really nice. Is there any specific area you want to concentrate in if you go to Washington?
Well, I think there's three things that I really would like to concentrate in. First and foremost, I think the job creation, job training portion of the stimulus bill will be important for us in Chicago and in the 5th Congressional District specifically, because it is a middle class, a lot of it blue collar, a lot of people that are looking for jobs, out of jobs. We can go in, if we can get the contracts that are needed for some of the projects, if we can get some of the industry to get them some help to maintain jobs, to keep jobs, I think that would be a area that I would like to concentrate on specifically. Education, educational access, and bringing down the cost of education for people. I think that's an area that we as a nation need to concentrate on. And given my experience in Chicago, I think I could be helpful in terms of how Washington delivers funds. One of my favorite examples is that a few years ago, the federal government came in and they were going to help us with our technology. And they were giving schools money to put in so we can put computers in classrooms. But we could only access the money if we were willing to do hardwire, and every dollar we got from them was going to cost us $3. We tell them, can we use wireless? Because then we can just use your money and do as many classrooms or more. But it was something that the federal red tape wouldn't allow us to do in that first round.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, knowing how federal dollars really affect the ground in terms of education in schools, it's an area that I could be effective and immediately active in. And then I think the last area I think everybody needs to work on in terms of Congress is the healthcare situation. You know, Medicaid, the prescription problems, you know, particularly for seniors at this point in time. You know, I met with some seniors the other day at North Park Village, and, you know, a $10 prescription last year for a woman has gone up to $38.
Wow.
Her $20 prescription is now $78, and she's on a fixed income. And the drugs didn't become more expensive. The prices went up.
The prices went up, and also the amount the insurance company doesn't cover. As a matter of fact, I had to wait for a prescription at a pharmacy, and they didn't get something right. So I'm just sitting there. In the half an hour I was sitting there, and this is right after the first of the year, the customers were going. They were in shock at how much extra they had to pay this year. A lot of it was insurance companies not doing it, drugs going up. I know when people don't talk about inflation, but I know that the products, the staples I buy at the grocery store, and I don't get, like, you know, all kinds of fancy pre-made products, just staples. Even if they don't raise the price, they reduce the size of the package. I mean, there's been a lot of inflation in general. And the drug market that way, it's scary.
Well, and the scary part is that you can't make folks that are on a fixed income choose between taking the medicine they need and being able to pay their rent or pay their heating bill or eat. And if you look at it, I mean, the state has shown a remarkable inability to help the medical system, the medical complex, control costs. I mean, they pay them so late, they don't interact with them well. The federal government, who has the opportunity to buy prescriptions in bulk, to really cut down on the problems in terms of the companies that provide prescription drugs to folks, that area alone could create an immediate impact to make a senior's life better. And somebody needs to basically go in, and I think there are enough people in Congress that have the will to try and do it, and I'm hoping to be one of them, to say this is an area that is not, it doesn't take, of course we used to say it doesn't take an act of Congress, but it probably will, but factually speaking, go in and make it where it's cost effective for these people. If the federal government buys these things in bulk, if they allow for us to buy overseas, if the drugs are safe, if they allow us to really bring the market to where it should be based on cost, you would be able to affect very positively a lot of the seniors. And you know, fine-tuning Medicaid and you know, making sure that people, if they get a new prescription and they're in the middle of a season, they shouldn't have to like pay twice as much because that drug isn't on their portfolio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to be able to get it at a reasonable cost.
No, that's important, and there is a wide range of price. You know, unfortunately, well, you know, I shop the pills. I don't take that many, but the ones I take, I shop and I try to see who's. There's a huge range. I mean, I could be paying 3-4 times more at one place than another place.
No question. And I think when you look at the opportunity that we have as a nation right now, with a president who is elected, you know, with such a great plurality as opposed to the very close elections we've had in the last several presidential, you've got, I think, a public in this nation that is poised to try and change some things fundamentally how they're done and get a result as opposed to the rhetoric of a change. I think that we have an opportunity to really work on the quality of life for the average American and let them see that their government is not necessarily a necessary evil, but is a partner in trying to improve people's lives.
I think that's very important. There's no question about it. You know, we haven't given people the boundaries of the 5th Congressional District.
It is huge. You know, I've run in a ward for many years, and when you look at the congressional district, there's parts of almost 20 wards that are in this district. You know, you run roughly from the lakefront to out past O'Hare. You run from almost Devon Avenue at certain points to Armitage on the south side. And it's, you know, it's like any geographic district that's drawn by humans. The lines make no sense. People are never, you know, half a block is in, half a block is out. You know, the easiest way to try and tell people is that people who are attuned, people who vote in regular elections, if Rahm Emanuel was their elected representative in the past election,
Yeah.
then they are in the 5th Congressional District. And really that's the best way that we've been able to try and identify it with people, because actually Rahm did a great job of letting people know who he was and where his district was and what he did. And so most people, if you say, who's your congressman, you know, they'll either know it was Rahm or they know it wasn't.
Yeah, and those are the people who I think would tend to vote, hopefully.
No question. I mean, that's what this special election is about.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who's coming out to vote. Nobody knows what the turnout will be.
Yeah, you have a whole situation where, I mean, besides for the diversity of candidates, it's not like there's an Obama at the top of the ticket to bring people out, or a big Republican thing one way or another, Democratic thing. What is there? I don't even know if there's a track record you can look at.
Well, the most recent special election was the one that was out in the suburbs with Oberweis, and the turnout there was considerably low. In that instance, it really helped the Democrat win, because you know, he was able to mobilize his small Democratic base over a Republican base that was pretty lethargic. But in this race, the 5th Congressional District, most people feel that the Democratic winner is going to be the ultimate congressman. So you have all of the Democrats in the race basically trying to mobilize people to come out and vote. I mean, I'm very fortunate in parts of my ward that, some of the folks that are representing people throughout the district have signed on. Terry O'Brien, you suggested, Alderman Stone, Senator Silverstein. I mean, they're all very supportive of trying to help my candidacy. And I look at it this way. People have elected them in their communities. And so hopefully their support means that people who have enjoyed their service or elected them to office will say, well, then I'm going to vote for their candidate, even if I'm not as well known as I'd like to be in some of the areas.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll help. I know that we interviewed Alderman Stone before you even, and will be on our guest next week, and he was speaking very highly of you. And he did think you were going to win. He was explaining to me the way he thought things were going to divide up that would enable you to get in there. And I certainly know you've got a lot of support in the Jewish community, and the fact is that people here know you within the Jewish community. And of course, I'm one of those. I can't speak for everybody, but I know you're very popular around these parts. Campaign website?
We have a campaign website. It's a pretty simple one to remember, o'connorforcongress.com. You can do .net.org. It all brings you to the same place.
Smart.
Yeah, so that works out. And I will tell you, in the Jewish community, for my own benefit, I've learned a lot from working with people in the Jewish community. I mean, when we created the Eruv, when the first people came in to see me, I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about Northside College Prep, it actually runs down by Northside College Prep. We took down a fence probably a year ago after a flood, and we had to actually work with rabbis to make sure that the fence went up in the proper way to ensure that the Eruv was correct again. So, you learn, it's the great part about Chicago and the 5th Congressional District, the cultural diversity, the ability for people to come together to work on things. I just think this as an opportunity will be an opportunity for me to grow as a person, to do more of what I've enjoyed doing, which is representing people, and to learn more, which I think, in government or anywhere in life, if you stop learning, you pretty much it's over.
Yeah. That's 100% true. If a person doesn't continue to learn, you either go forward or backward. There's no such thing as running in place.
That's true. That's right.
So if people want to, do you have an office in the neighborhood? Or?
We do. We've opened an office on Lincoln Avenue, 5681 North Lincoln. We have a first floor that's accessible for folks that want to come in and volunteer or pick up materials, and we've got kind of a computer phone system up on the second floor where we're trying to motivate people that we have targeted as potential voters, and it's quite an operation. We have a great volunteer base, which we're very fortunate and I'm very thankful for, and we're going to work hard over the next few days and give it the best shot we can, and I'm hoping Alderman Stone's prediction is correct, but I do feel that we're positioned well, and if we do our job, we're in the thick of it.
Remember, the election is this Tuesday. I mean, not next Tuesday, not the Tuesday after. We're talking, depending on where you're watching, 1 day from now, 3 days from now, 4 days from now, this Tuesday. So I know you'll make Alderman O'Connor very happy, and you'll probably be doing a good job for the citizens of the United States and the residents of the 5th Congressional District. So, he's definitely, I will tell you, in my dealings with him over the years, he's definitely a good guy. I can't tell you I've met all the 25 other candidates, but there's no question that Alderman O'Connor, I know he would take the job very seriously and do his best along those lines. 40-second warning. Any last words of you'd like to impart? Or?
Well, I think the one thing I'd like to say is that if you're going to look at who your future congressman will be, you just try and look at what that person's history has been. Mine is one of collaboration. I work closely with the mayor. I think we would do a good job in helping the city continue to be a vital and a great center for urban life. And I just think that, folks that really are concerned about their government in the future, I hope that they come out on March 3rd and vote.
O'ConnorForCongress.com, .org, .net. You'll get there. We want to thank very much Alderman Pat O'Connor, perhaps Congressman Pat O'Connor very shortly.
Thanks,
we want to thank you very much and want to wish you a lot of luck in the election. It's Tuesday. Please vote. I want to thank my entire technical staff, Sonny Hirsch. Check us on the web, ntnm.org. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.